You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
I am done with winter. Done. And I have to, I'm a person who really likes summer. I like summer a lot. I understand it gets warm, but I like the light into the 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
the
late night
walking
light is
out
nice.
the door without a coat, or as I call it, Phil Collins weather, no jacket required. That you just,
True.
It's just so natural. Like you wake up in the morning and there's like birds and you just kind of roll about. Everything feels like you could just be naked. It feels like you could just be naked and you wouldn't know. And it's so light.
Wait, you can be naked in the wintertime, and there's also birds.
Inside your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I run hot. I'm naked usually.
Well, okay, doesn't...
Like I'm sweating right now. So.
Okay, well, I am too. This is
But we're all naked. Like, obviously, we're all naked.
This is a little foreshadowing to our episode, but we're basically in a plexiglass box.
We are. Oh, you're right. Oh, my God.
We
It's
are.
hermetically sealed.
Yeah, it's hermetically sealed.
Yeah.
And wow.
We don't know if we'll get out. I
Yeah.
presume that door will
There's
open,
no
but we don't
breathing
know.
holes.
I like the lightness of summer. I would love... My ideal temperature would be 23 and breezy all the time.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a heat wave. I don't know
I don't
why
want a
everyone
heat
thinks
wave.
I'm not talking. I don't want a
Yeah.
heat wave.
Yeah. I don't want chafing in my groin.
Some sort of like laying out on a fire escape, crying and trying to like keep thinking straight or something like I'm in a book or whatever. Anyway,
I love the idea that for you, it's lying on a fire escape crying. I like that. Like that's going to be my new summer look for you, is when I send you a emoji, I'm going to find fire escape and lying just in a plank
I've
position.
watched so many movies where people are always like hanging out when New York gets too hot.
It does get so
And I have been in New York when it was hot, and it was so hot. It's not like Vancouver hot.
No,
There's
it's
a bit
a
of a
different
breeze
hot.
off the ocean. If you actually can go down to the ocean if
It's
you
just
needed
thick
to.
with urine smell
Yeah.
everywhere.
And
You're
it's-
like land, like city locked.
And
Yeah.
you're like melting. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you did transportation or something.
Yeah.
You just feel like you've gone into a circle of hell.
Yeah.
Like, because no. But for some reason, fire escapes are in my head because I've watched so many movies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And there'll be people like men in those... in like singlets, right?
Yep.
With those tight pants, with the they all kind of look at their own West Side Story, and they're all smoking out there, and I don't know what.
I like the idea of a wrestling singlet and a New York fire escape are somehow combined together for you.
This is my image of summer.
It's
too hot.
because like when it's really, really hot, you're sweating in places that you didn't even know could be sweaty. You're like, my neck is sweating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the neck
Like,
sweat is gross.
you're like,
There's
That's
some kind of
weird.
bending of your body, and
Yeah.
it collects in there.
yeah. Oh,
No.
I hate it when it gets like just like 3 layers of sweat behind my ears.
But you know what I also hate?
What?
Mass amounts of snow that turn
Yeah.
into ice that make me
Yeah.
afraid to walk down the street because I think I might die if I hit my head.
Yeah, I'm not great on ice either.
And then I just don't. And I've been watching. I know this is this episode will come out a little bit later,
Like a few weeks.
few weeks. But I still think the memories will be fresh of the Newfoundland blizzard,
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
where people are tunneling out.
Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, I can't imagine. Like obviously Newfoundland gets weather, and I know as a Vancouverite,
Weather with a W.
I know as a Vancouverite, an occasional bit of snow grinds us to a halt.
Yeah, we are afraid of weather with the
We
W.
really are.
Yeah,
We're just like
it's-
we're good in that sort of rain dwelling.
I
spot.
also think, like, to be fair, like, we are, yes, but also, like, our city is not equipped.
Oh,
Like,
no.
because we don't expect it every year,
No.
or how bad it's gonna get, and then all these other cities that have terrible weather for 5 months are like, we need to invest
Yeah,
Yeah.
in snow.
a snowplow for every street. Right?
I
I know.
saw the one sad snowplow that Vancouver has. Maybe we're up to 2. I'm not sure, but I saw
Yeah.
the one a lot in the course of a couple days because I'm lucky. I have snow tires, and I can go out and I can drive in the snow. But this snowplow looked so rough by the end of the first day. I actually felt sorry
Or it
for
looked like me
an
after having to get around.
It was like tilted, like the
I
plowy
know.
part was like. in a like it had like given up like a shrug and it fell over. Like that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
I think they're just like old Zambonis with like they're like attached. It's like detached, and they just put it in reverse so it goes forward.
Just go down the street. They'll think you're doing something. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and then usually we rely on the fact that the main roads will just get eaten up by the drivers going by, right? And then the warming up situation happens.
I have to say, actually, one of the reasons that I'm so glad we're doing, one of the reasons I'm so glad that I watched the second season of the show that we're going to talk about is because it is set in LA, and I really enjoyed like being in LA. Well, just being in LA over like the holidays via this television show. Like,
well, I've
it was
noticed
just
it's
kind
the
of nice.
rare show about New York that ever films in winter. Like it's rare. Like, I've watched.
It's hard to film.
You
in
can
New York
watch
in
that
winter.
entire season of Sex of the entire all seasons of Sex in the City. There's not a bit of snow or a coat.
Well, the only time, so they had always set it during summer.
Yeah.
And they like released it during summer, which
Yeah.
I thought was always very clever, except for the final season where she curls up with her quote unquote Russian.
Oh, right.
And doesn't like leave the apartment for a couple days because the weather's miserable. That's
Yeah.
like the one time they deviate from
We never saw weather.
No.
No.
It was
that
always
cozy
like
fire.
Well, I mean, how else is she going to wear like 17
warmers
different
and-
kinds of crop tops?
Yes.
We have to keep it during the summer. Like that's
It's also escapist, right? Like
totally.
It's very I think smart to release like a show that's set in like a sunny paradise city.
Yeah.
During the dead of winter, where people are either trying to get away or want to escape in their mind.
Yeah, it's totally smart.
I have like about a 20-minute window of going, it's so pretty, and then it ends. Like I try because I want to be I want to be a person that's like, you're in the moment. It's really lovely.
I had a full
and the
day.
fresh snow is so beautiful. But then all of a sudden I have to go somewhere and I don't know how I'm going to get there. And it's literally not of anyone else's concern. I just have to be somewhere.
Yeah, no, I had I had a full day of like enjoying the snow, but that's because I didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, see? Different.
Yeah.
Different.
No, I
if you don't have to
understand.
go anywhere, then you could be living in the outer parts.
For sure.
What are they called? What are they?
The outskirts,
Country?
the
The
suburbs,
country?
the country. Like I don't live in the country, Lisa. I just want to be clear.
I said to my friend the other day, I was like, oh, maybe I could go live in the... She's like, no, you're living in cities. That's what you love.
Rural
Why
Canada.
are you...
Yeah,
I am not rural Canada.
You are not rural.
I
Canada.
know.
No, that's not
I
going to
know.
happen.
So, but out there.
Out there, this is not our most elegant segue, but
No.
I'm
In
gonna-
there.
In there.
As
not
in a
out there.
plexiglass box.
We are all in a plexiglass box right now, and I've got sweat in the new summer places, even though it's the dead of winter. Welcome to Pop This. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
And we're so excited to have a return guest today.
Well, and it's fresh for me.
It's fresh
because
for you.
Thank you for being me, in a way,
course.
when I was quite ill.
Yeah, it was such a we'd never had a fill-in co-host
No.
before. And Joanne Tsung did a great job as fill-in
Thank
co-host.
you.
We're so happy to have you back as a guest. Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm very excited that you're excited because we have been bandying about this show. And should we even do this?
Should we even do it?
Because who are we?
I know.
This is a garbage show.
Okay, but we have to.
But
So
that we
have to talk about it.
have
Yeah.
watched both seasons of very quickly.
Yeah, as soon as I saw you posted on Facebook that you needed to talk about the show, I was like, well, here's our guest.
Somebody, please.
Please. So we are talking about You. It's a
Should
television
we talk
show.
about you first?
Well, yeah,
No
I
one
was.
can see
we
me
hadn't
there.
like officially announced
Yeah,
what we were doing
exactly,
yet.
yes.
So like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Joanne Tsung, your bio. Joanne Tsung is a fat, queer, tattooed tomboy femme, not always in that order, but almost always all of those things. Hailing from unceded ancestral territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, Joanne is a first-generation immigrant settler from Taichung, Taiwan. She has worked in production for the Vancouver Queer Film Festival, Vancouver International Film Festival, TD Jazz, and Pemberton Music Festival. Joanne also performs stand-up comedy. She's very funny. And just finished working on a fat documentary to be released sometime in 2020. So excited.
That's
Thank
a
you
very
so much.
fine bio.
What a great
Oh,
bio.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. It is 2020. It's coming out soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
Yeah.
We'll watch it together.
Okay, I can't wait.
I like how you said stand up as opposed to stand up. Did you notice that, or was it just me? You did? And it sounded like you were meant like she's like a good person.
She is a stand-up comedian.
She's a
You know what? I've never heard her tell a lowbrow joke, and I have thought, you know what? This is
Only
this
wholesome
is
I was like
this
reading
is
it going, is there a different way to say this now?
no, it's just me. Sometimes I emphasize weird words and
I am a stand-up comedian.
I mean, as opposed to one of those like
Yeah.
sort of like dirtbag
Yeah, the
comedians
dreary ones. Yeah.
who is in season 2. I really can't stand that guy, but he does a good job of playing a dirtbag. So
So many dirtbags.
so many dirtbags.
Yeah.
You is really all about
All about
dirtbags.
dirt bags.
It really is.
Bags of dirt.
Bags of
And
dirt.
the reason why, as before we get to reading our little summation, I have to say that why this is such a complicated show is because it's working on your weird, like, you're like, that guy's a dirtbag. Maybe it's good he died. Oh, it's not good. No, it's not. Lisa,
Yeah.
murder's wrong.
Murder is wrong.
Wrong.
You're like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
There's people that you want. I don't think anyone can really get away with living a human life without wanting to kill somebody.
Sure, you
Right?
want to, but
Right.
most of us don't.
Most of us.
And it's almost as
Don't.
if they, like, crowdsourced, who would you really want dead? And Benji came up, right? Like,
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
much about this show.
exactly.
Anyway.
So should we do some, do you want to read the background there?
I think like you go ahead and read the
Okay.
background, and then like maybe we'll just skip over the casting because it's so long.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we'll do like the little
lot of
summaries.
characters.
Okay,
Yeah.
so You is an American psychological thriller television series developed by Greg Berlanti and Sarah Gamble, based originally on the 2014 novel by Caroline
Kepnes.
Kepnes?
I'm just making that up.
All right. Kepnes or Kepnes. Sorry, Caroline, if you're listening to this. The series premiered on Lifetime on September 9th, 2018, and streaming on Netflix internationally on December 26, 2018. The series attracted a limited audience on Lifetime before becoming more popular and a critical success for Netflix with over 43 million viewers. Holy wow.
That's so many people.
That's more than our country's population. Streamed the first season after its debut on the streaming service December 3rd, 2018. It was announced that the series would move to Netflix as an original title. The second season was released on Netflix Boxing Day 2019. Merry Christmas to you guys. And on January 14th, the series was renewed for a third season by Netflix, which is set to be released sometime in 2021.
I mean, honestly, it was a bit of a Christmas gift. I was so sick.
Yes.
I wasn't really sure I wanted to watch it. And Lisa was like, you should watch it. And I was like, fine. And eventually, honestly, I felt like that. I was like, fine, I'll watch it. And it was in combination of your suggestion. And also, I have to admit, because I listened to Keep It, Ira Madison III really loves it. And he has like a cameo in the second season.
Yeah.
But he also really loves the show. And I really like a lot of the stuff he likes. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give this a shot.
You know, the dual Lisa Ira vote is generally what sways a lot of people.
It holds a lot of court for me.
Yeah.
We'll do quick synopses of synopses of seasons 1 and 2. Their spoilers will be revealed, and so I honestly, because I don't think we can talk about this show without doing.
And
the
they're
spoilers.
really, it is. If you haven't seen it and you're intrigued by our enthusiasm, go watch it now because the fun is how many
Now
twists
is
and
the time.
turns.
Yeah, now
There
is
are,
the
yeah.
time. Like, watch it before we ruin things for you.
Yeah, because it really is. It's a lot of and that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in season
A lot of gasping.
A lot of gasping. Honestly, I have to say, there's a lot of eye rolling and a lot of gasping in equal measure. In season 1, Joel Goldberg is a New York bookstore manager and serial killer who falls in love with a customer named Guinevere Beck, an aspiring writer, and quickly develops an extreme, toxic, and delusional obsession with her. He uses social media and other technology to track her presence and remove obstacles to their romance. Then, in the second season, Joe moves from New York to Los Angeles to escape his past and all the dead bodies and starts over with a new identity. When he meets chef Love Quinn, that is her name, Love Quinn, Joe begins falling into his old patterns of obsession and violence. As Joe attempts to forge a new love in the City of Angels, he strives to make his relationship with Love succeed at all costs and to avoid the fate of his past romantic endeavors.
And by past romantic endeavors, we mean murder.
Murder, violence,
And, it sounds
stalking,
like...
and I will say this is lifted from Wikipedia, so it's a very language matters. So
No,
we
I
should
know,
say
it's just...
not romantic endeavors, but abusive patterns of abuse and
Past
predation.
romantic endeavors might sound I'm a bit clingy.
Yes.
You know, that's me.
Yeah.
I just get into things too quick.
Yeah, for like any fans.
Yeah.
So just reiterate.
Yeah.
Murder.
Murder.
Yeah, murder.
Yeah.
People have died.
Many.
One of the things that as I was watching the show, and I kept thinking, is it like how, like, this is awful and this is the worst, and why am I still watching it, and I can't stop watching it, and I'm laughing a lot, and I think so many things about this show work on so many levels, and I do not regret watching it.
No, I enjoyed all of it. I did.
Well, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's one of those shows that get intense quickly. Like Scandal or like How to Get Away with Murder. You're like, I really want to know what's happening because things are happening quickly.
Yeah.
So it draws you in and you kind of lose yourself and you want to know what happens next. And I think that's what drew me in to watch the show.
Yeah.
But then I realized what I was watching.
Yeah.
It was horrific. Horrific.
But you kept going.
Yeah, I'm not a
I
quitter.
know. I know.
Yeah, right? I will
on.
see this through. Yeah.
I couldn't help
Unlike
it.
Joe's girlfriends.
Yeah, they're just quitting left, right, and
Yeah.
left, right, and strangulation. Yeah. Oh man.
Yes.
Well, and the reason I had avoided the show for so long is I had heard that it was just so creepy and stalkery and awful and like so much violence against women and stuff. And 100%, it's all those things. It's also, ridiculously watchable, and there is a certain sort of, it's so, I think ultimately it's so satirical, that that's sort of what, I don't know. That's sort of what won me over in the long run.
What won me over was very similar to the same sort of way I like Silence of the Lambs, which is the fact that the way they created that Hannibal Lecter character, which is that...
I haven't seen that show.
You've
The
never
movie?
seen the movie?
You never seen
I know it's iconic. I know
Yeah,
it's
yeah. No, that's
iconic,
fine.
but it's scary.
It is, but
Something about skinning people?
Well,
yeah,
once.
that's super not ideal. And yeah, and it,
Only one time. Not
it-
that bad.
I mean...
yeah, and it does have like a transphobic subplot that's not ideal, and because it's transphobic. But the rest of it, I would say, is it's very smart and very well done.
But just the idea that to create these characters that are murderers, but that also have this side of them that feels like it is getting rid of people that you don't mind them getting rid of.
Well, that's how they do the moral quandary of like ethics around murder and
make the person like who is like an art lover. So we have this great, like, honestly, again, like, to create Joe as a bookstore owner, which is just like some kind of catnip for people.
100% catnip for me.
Yeah,
like,
in the most beautiful bookshop in New York, it looks like. And, the Penn Badgley is easy on the eyes, and he's got a very seductive voice. And that's also a very similar technique that a real serial killer, Ted Bundy, was able to use as well. Very handsome, very charming. The way he could talk to people. So I think
He's a lawyer also.
Ted
Yeah.
Bundy was a lawyer?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He like represented himself.
Oh, I knew that, but I didn't know he was actually a lawyer. I just thought he was an idiot to represent himself.
I mean, that's never a good sign. In court,
yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
not great. Yeah.
No, but that idea that they create this person who makes us start questioning who is a good person and who is a bad person.
I think it's really quite interesting the way that they've shaped his personality. That he's like this curious, well-read man with, I guess, conventionally attractive. I don't think he's very good looking.
He's got
I
a
know he's-
peculiarity to
I think he's one of those
He's got an art boy quality about him.
like he's
Yeah.
like hipster for
Yes.
sure,
Yes.
hipster.
Yeah.
He owns blends and he reads and he watches movies, and I think the fact that he's so quick and like he's so pensive, the way he looks is so pensive, and I think that's very attractive. I think about a man at least who's curious and well read and quotes Nora Ephron and
a
Wes
man who pays
Anderson.
attention.
And
is-
takes care of the little boy in the apartment next door who's troubled, and
Yeah, and I think And so I think the way that they have him set up, and you see they take time on the little details of his character, and then kind of everything that's, I think, more violent happens quickly, that you kind of glean over to be like, well, all these things make sense, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, or when you slow down to think about his actions.
Well, because I mean, he like we sort of like get Beck positioned as, and this is like very smart on the part of the writers, is that like his character is glorified on a lot of levels, even though he's doing all these terrible things, because he's juxtaposed against this like sort of like people who seem, you know, just as hypocritically bad, quote unquote. Like, you know, Beck's friends are sort of like mostly terrible trust fund babies, and like Beck herself gets positioned, at least, you know, from sort of the outside looking in, as someone who, you know, sort of lies and leaves out these details about her life and doesn't hold herself to sort of like any kind of like accountability and stand, like she's
just a mess.
She's a mess,
Yes.
but she gets to like, you know, she's a mess, and she's not allowed to just be a mess. She has to be filtered through his assessment of her,
Which is misogynistic.
which is so misogynistic, and that he has to like save her from her own messiness.
But then we have the extra layer of him idealizing her, and then Benji going, "Oh, buddy, don't bother." Like, you know, like, honestly, I could introduce you to 20 Becks if you really want them. Like,
And which
that
is another level of misogyny.
yeah,
which is
another
so
level
wild.
of misogyny, and also on a whole other level of shifting the story. Of like the floor, kind of what you're standing on, right? Because we've got this sense of Beck as being treated poorly by this trust fund jerk, but at the same time he's like, honestly, she's not gonna give you what you think, you know.
Well, and
this is not girlfriend material for even you. So they're playing with these whole ideas around us wanting to idealize people and see them in a better light.
Well, and also like just to constantly sort of like have the like men's ideas of who she is telegraphed onto her, as opposed to just sort of letting, like, the moment in the first season where we do switch to her POV for like, I think it's a half an episode or one
day.
Yeah, it's so refreshing.
It is.
And they don't like go back to that very much at all, if ever, because I don't think we get anything in the second season
Again, and that's also, but that's used in a way that makes us kind of go, she's not a good person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's an odd, but then again, you know,
and
like,
they create that false equivalency
Yes.
that not a good person is the same as a murderer.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and also, you know, we're meant to, like, every once in a while I would be like, especially Peach, man, she was really put through the ringer, that one. You know what I mean? Like, and
That one.
but I mean, really, like, she didn't. She's such a complicated character.
Yeah.
But when she's dead, you're all like, yeah, well, that's.
The lesbianism, I think, in season 1 was extra good for me. And I was upset that they didn't, I think, linger longer on it, because I think it really speaks to the kind of downfall, or like the character flaws of each character, in that they had this like seemingly deep, dark secret that they were hiding from each other, or that they had to try to control each other into doing things because of unrequited love.
Yeah.
Which, again, is
And just
the backdrop.
But everybody was projecting something onto Beck.
Yeah.
Right? That's she, and even she on her own self was trying to create something new for herself, right? That everybody wanted something out of her. And that's what made that whole dynamic of all of them, and that weird, I don't even know if we call it a love triangle. You can't really, because they weren't really.
I would have liked to spend more time with, like, see, I really like Shay Mitchell, and I really liked her on Pretty Little Liars too.
Same.
Like, I know the character of Emily, not the greatest character in the world necessarily, but, you know, still compelling. And I think the actor is like pretty good. And I really didn't want her to die. Like,
I didn't either.
I mean, not that I wanted most of the characters to die, but like, I just thought like her character was so interesting.
Yeah.
And that then we get that she has also been playing her own long con but like in I think like a much less obviously harmful way than what Joe has done. Like just the idea that like Joe has the audacity to call her a psychopath, I was like, wow, buddy.
Takes one to know one, really. I mean,
you are so deluded that like this is not quite the same thing to me at all. Like,
No.
again, we have to go back to murder. I mean, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, I know, and that's why I think that's what makes this show ultimately so ridiculously compelling. Is it's like effing with your head all the time in that way, right? Because you're like, that Peach, you know, well, who does she think she's not a murderer? She's not a murderer. Like, I mean, that, come on. Like, she must have a lot of flaws.
This is one of the things that's so funny to me. So I actually screenshot this from earlier today because there's been a ton of you memes that making the rounds. But anyway, one person screenshot this from Twitter and was like, this guy actually said, "Murder aside, Joe is a good man. # you on Netflix." And this other person like below was like, killing themselves laughing, like, what do you mean murder aside? Like, and this is what this show has done to us.
Well, no, but that's what it's trying to do to
I
you
know.
constantly, and it does it such a good job, right?
It's also a good commentary on our obsession with true crime, my obsession with true crime.
Only yours, Andrea.
I know.
The funny thing is, too, is by the time we meet Joe in this show, he's actually already murdered a few people.
It's
like,
true.
we just don't know yet.
He definitely has murdered a few people.
Well, and I think it's released, like the show's commentary or the show's, I think, theme of the wanting the audience to sympathize with him because of his past or because of the way he tries to justify and the way that when he's narrating, when he's stalking her, when he's like creating this profile of who she is from what he can find out online, is kind of the same with all these other shows that are coming out and with our world and reality of all these men that are being outed as like sexual predators.
Yeah.
That like we are now being questioned or we are now being asked to create these opinions or create these, I guess, feelings of how we're supposed to feel about these men that are committing these crimes or doing these things that are so horrible in real life versus all these characters on Netflix or television that are emulating essentially real life.
Yeah, and I think what the show does really effectively is or maybe too effectively because like there's not a lot of there's sometimes an absence of media literacy as viewers to understand that we are like Joe is not a good dude. Joe is not a...
But they don't do any... But, I mean, as much as they're doing things to say that Joe's a good dude, we know he's not.
We do,
so
but I think...
That's all the work's ours.
But I do think, like, there is, like... There's been a lot of conversation around sort of, like, glorifying Joe because he's in the same way that sort of Dexter was glorified to a certain extent, you know? Like
I was just going to say Dexter.
Yeah, like, just, like, he kills... He kills bad people.
Yeah.
And therefore it's not as bad. And obviously we know that like fundamentally we understand that that's wrong. But I think the idea is like making sure that like younger people are not sort of giving him that free pass. And so one of the things that I think like, because a lot of this has come up for the cast on the show. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I really think that makes a lot of sense is the way that Penn Badgley I think he's actually done a tremendous amount of good work around this. Every interview he does, he talks about Joe is a monster. He is a pathological sociopath. Like he is, and he reiterates again and again and again, and he lays clear how many levels of abuse Joe is applying in every situation. Even his Instagram, someone was laughing at me the other day, like going through my photos, and we're like, why did you screenshot Penn Badgley's Instagram? But I can't help it. When you go to his...
You know, when I watch a stalker on a show, I start to stalk them too. I mean, it's just one of the...
Look, it's an invitation.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but his Instagram profile reads, thinking deeply about themes in Netflix and social forces that contribute to gender-based violence.
Yeah.
You can use Tahiri Justice as a learning portal. Like, and he is doing a lot of work in his personal life because he is obviously benefiting financially and artistically from this show.
We've got so used to having these kinds of men in movies. We've discussed this before, like Mad Men and Sopranos.
But like John Hamm never John Hamm never sort of challenged Don Draper's grossness. Like he, if anything, just continued to sort of charm and ooze and ease his way through life and like accept the accolades of a complicated male character. What I like about Penn Badgley's approach is he's saying, no, this man is bad.
Yeah.
And here are
Well, also Don Draper's not a murderer. It's a big difference.
I know.
I'm
But
just
again,
talking about our relationship. Well, no, I think a better analogy would be Tony Soprano. How that man has managed to become that character.
Yeah.
So beloved as a dad. You're like, no, murderer.
Yeah,
That
actually,
Tony Soprano is a big, and same with Walter White.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was just gonna say that Breaking Bad for me is the thing that I thought about the most watching the series because it literally is like, you're like, no, he has cancer. Like you,
Right? Yeah.
You try so hard to sympathize with him, especially because he's doing something that you know is not great. Like the murder, yes, but like, the making of drugs is also not great, but it's also a reality of life. So I think that you start to have these like, and I think in all of these scenarios, everyone is white, right?
Yes.
Everyone is white, and so
Oh my God, can you
automatically
imagine
this show would not have happened if Penn Badgley was played by a black man.
There is no
For
way.
sure
There is
not.
no
Yeah.
way.
There's no way they would have no views. And
No.
so I think, and also like that so for Walter White, I think that he appeals to the audience by having a family and trying to be a good man. And the good and bad men of the world, they are the ones that are always trying to move that line. I think like Hannah Gadsby had said before, right?
Yeah,
that like men are always the ones that are deciding that if they're good or if they're bad.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not.
Yes.
They're not the one. They should not be the ones deciding if they're good or bad because that line is constantly moving for them, depending on how they justify their actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we are helping them justify. I mean, us, the society, is helping justify the actions of white men that are doing all this evil.
Yeah. No, you're right.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And that's why he has to keep reminding people, and we all had to keep reminding ourselves all the time. Murderer.
So many rom-coms are also sort of like set up to have stalking be romanticized.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about when we were talking about Dirty John and how the character, like, well, I mean, this is a real man, but like he seemed so much better than all of the other men that she went on
Because he
dates
knew
with.
how he's a sociopath. He knew how to talk to her.
He knew how
I
to
know.
talk to her, and he actually just sort of was able to perform interest in her. Like, what? Oh,
And
wild.
all the normal dudes don't know how to do that. I know it's like a catch-22, isn't it?
Oh, man.
You can be with normal guy, and it's going to be a nightmare, right? This guy will never talk
awkward.
to you properly. Awkward. Murderer here is going to be like the hot guy who runs the
So
bookstore.
suave. Can we? I know that like it's hard to cram 2 seasons into sort of one episode.
Yeah.
But can we move into season 2 because
I'm ready.
so season 1 I liked, but
So
I
Beck's
was like
dead.
Beck's dead.
John
but
Stamos is in jail for it.
Oh my god. John Stamos so good.
Yes, the interesting thing about him being framed as the therapist is that he was also a bad person.
He also a bad
Dude,
person.
That's why it was so
100%.
easy to pin the murder on him too.
And make us go, Joe
Yeah.
was right again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You
And you're
know?
like, oh darn.
Yeah.
All men deserve to die.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's just
Yeah.
And yet, so many women die in this show, which sucks. Season 2, I
More
liked
men
a
dying.
lot more
A lot.
than season 1.
Oh, did you?
How did you guys feel about season 2?
okay. Before we delve
Sorry,
right
okay,
into it,
yep.
though, that in no seasons anybody knows what a curtain is. Apparently,
Agreed.
curtains are not used at all. Even in season 2, there are curtains in Love Quinn's house. He's still able to peer through the crack of the
there is
curtain.
a
No one is
curtain-
using curtains effectively.
Curtain
in this
shortage coast to coast.
series.
And I think that's, you know what, honestly, you need to raise this as like a primo commentator on set deck in homes, Lisa.
Yeah, I know.
This is
Yes.
your
Some
new
draperies.
season 3.
Yeah,
you need
I-
to write them a strongly worded letter about
You know, every night when it gets dark, I close the curtains in my house because you can see it from the street. I'm not doing
Yes.
stuff. Like,
I am.
wow, are you?
I'm naked in my house.
Are you not
Are
constantly
you like with
humping a
Beck,
bolster
just like
pillow?
literally having sex as close to the window as possible?
I
I mean, I know her bed's there.
Yeah.
But jeez.
Yeah, I I don't know. There's something about when I was living in Toronto for a short while, and I was living amongst like condo city. And for the longest time, every time I was on the balcony, some part of me wanted just to see people having sex against their window.
Yeah.
Because
Did
it
you
would be
see
so
that?
close. I still haven't.
Oh.
One day, though.
I've seen it a couple times, like in various like places. I've seen a few people having sex, like, because they think they're high enough up that no one's like seeing
Right.
and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think I've probably had hotel sex with a curtain open. Like you know, if you're staying like high
can
enough
say
up.
I've heard more hotel sex, which is way more disturbing. I'd rather
Yes.
just see without those sounds.
Yeah.
I literally just bought my place and was excited because it's concrete,
Yeah.
but found out recently it's just the skeleton,
Oh.
not the actual walls.
Well, you know what though? Honestly, depending on who you're. So I've lived in a place where it's just concrete, and actually the sound transfer, if you're wearing high heels, floor to floor, is awful.
It
So
goes to the whole building.
I lived below a high-heeled woman, and she
Well, I could, like,
born high
solder
heels.
onto
she
her
literally
feet, yeah.
was born high-heeled.
Wow.
She never took them off.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she just like stomped her stilettos all over that apartment all the
Wow.
time. And I was like, please just buy one throw rug, please.
Mm-hmm.
And no, or take off your shoes. No, like I don't. Maybe like honestly, at some point I was just like, oh, you're a professional dom, and that's what's going on upstairs. Like
Oh.
maybe that's what's happening.
Because usually the first thing I do is if I had a heel on, I take it right off. Like,
That's
you
the
get in
thing. I
house,
was trying to
it's
think
done.
about like
Right
why you
off,
would keep
yeah.
your stilettos
Maybe
on.
she just
I
likes
was
the
like,
way it looks on her. Like, it does look good.
I mean, eventually your leg muscles are going to really give way though, and your feet are going
Mine
to
Also,
be.
do.
your
say?
pelvic bone is not.
It's not meant
doing
to.
so
No.
well.
Yeah, I agree with you.
no.
Anyway, so
Yes.
okay.
Season 2.
Season 2, I liked it better than season 1.
I would just
Me
say,
too.
yeah, I would just say I also appreciated them going in a completely different direction with it.
Yeah. Yes. Also, only because I will say I was really saving myself. I don't for what for season 2. I was watching another show, or like a Disney Plus had just come out, right?
Yeah.
So I was in the Disney streaming devices, and I was like, no, don't watch it yet, because when I watched season 1, I watched it in literally one day.
Yeah.
And so season 2, I wanted just to wait until I think like New Year's or like New Year's Day, so I could just binge it all in one day.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say binge. I've actually now resorted to using a new word.
Oh.
Instead of saying binge, because binge is, it's so much stigma. Binge watching,
Yeah, yeah.
binge
Yep.
drinking, binge eating is all not good things. So I've now resorted to saying up to date, or I've caught up, because
caught
when you
up. Yeah,
tell
yeah.
someone
Yeah.
that you are caught up
Yeah.
or you are up to date, it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
way better.
Binging does sound obsessive,
Yeah.
like you've got a condition too, right? It
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, you
So
don't wanna say that.
know.
So you just
you're,
say,
yeah, up to date. Yeah.
I'm up to date with
Yeah.
vodka,
I'm up to
caught
date
up with whiskey.
vodka.
Yeah. I know
I
where
caught
Joe
up with
is.
my old friend Gin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Season 2, I really enjoyed.
I just
so
really,
much.
I was really excited to have like a whole other world. Like I thought all the other side characters were so interesting.
I was worried at first. I was
Mm-hmm.
not a big 40 fan, and I was like, oh my god, are we gonna just spend all season with this guy? But then he really grew on me.
Did you know that? Did I tell you this thing I read too that said that
Tell me.
their names are from tennis?
Oh,
40 in Love?
really? Well, I mean,
know.
there must be. I mean, they make
Yeah.
sense now. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, who? I was trying to figure out if they were ever going to explain the reasoning behind the names when we met their parents.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was something because like it had the most problematic whatever wedding anniversary party thing ever.
Wow, that
was
was-
quite a scene.
That was, I'm like, but that was very LA.
It was
think.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly,
It was very
yeah.
LA. And I
Yeah.
think, but honestly, okay, so first, when I first started catching up to the show,
Yeah.
I felt that I was watching the same show, different characters again. And I was like, this is really boring. He's doing the same thing. Like, essentially,
Yep.
he's moved to a different part of the country, trying to escape Candace, his ex, who's told him explicitly that she's going to find him and
Ruin
kill
his
him.
life. Yeah.
Or ruin his life, yes. And so, and I was like, okay, so he just moved to a new city, and he's now stalking another new girl that he's found attractive, and he's doing all these things to kind of insert himself into her life. what else is new? Like you
But
eventually.
no, then he
he's gonna,
pulls
you know,
back, right? And he's
but,
like, yes,
right.
yeah.
And then it got interesting.
Yes.
And Delilah and Ellie and
Yeah.
yes. And then I ate ramen for 3 days straight.
Yeah. And then the whole 40 dynamic, which
Oh my
was
God.
not, and her friends, which
Yeah.
the friend thing was a bit like, that one guy is on every Netflix movie shows, right?
Yeah.
The best friend guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I
But
like it,
actually,
though. I want
he
him to
did
get his own show.
He did serve a great function with that whole hike and then the massage,
Yeah.
which I thought was really smart. Otherwise, he was just sort of feeling like some kind of stock hippie character or like one of her friends. It didn't really need it, but when he was just so like said those trauma attracts trauma, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that's why you and Love are working together. And that's when I could see him doing that classic guy move, going, "Oh, she might like me a bit too much. I gotta pull back here."
Foreshadowing.
Yes, exactly.
Totally.
It's set
Yeah.
up. A lot of the male characters in season 2 were set up really smartly, I think, especially with 40 like bursting in through a Navrin. Oh my gosh, that name! Oh my gosh, that name, you guys. A
It's just Nirvana
Navrin.
backwards.
Yes,
I didn't know that until
I had
yeah.
to. I got a
that's so
piece of
smart,
pen and paper and wrote it down.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that is
Yeah,
that is
Yeah,
confirmed."
yeah.
When he like bursts through the doors, you know, ordering people around, this like entitled tall white man, whatever, and
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like we all hate him already.
Yeah.
But I know he's gonna have some sort of character curve where he's able to something more is happening, especially when we find out that he's the brother of
Love.
Twin brother.
Love.
Yeah.
yeah weird, but also like he turned out to have a really interesting and like in-depth character and
No, he was
history.
fascinating.
Yeah,
he really
his
was.
character
Yeah.
arc really I really came around on him so much, and
No,
I
I
thought the
did
actor
too.
did a wonderful job.
And again, can we just say that another one of our moral quandaries was nobody was going to be sad that comedian was murdered.
yeah,
Nobody.
I was not going to be sad about that. I mean, I don't like Crystala or Delia
In real life.
In real life, and I thought
and
he was
preying on the
perfectly
young girls.
cast.
Yeah, and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Was again another one of those moments where he's like poor Penn Badgley, murderer. I am a murderer.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I loved Ellie and I loved Delilah, and I really liked those characters. I did not want Delilah to leave the show. That made
She's hot.
me.
I really-
she's super hot.
yeah,
Oh my
no
god.
kidding.
Yeah.
I might have been stuck up against the wall at the liquor store too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
like, oh my God, yeah,
very
totally.
normal.
Yeah. But I also really I thought that the actress who played Love was fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, she really was.
I thought she was great.
Yes. She
Yeah.
just when she's not crying, she
Yeah.
looks like she looks good when she's crying.
Yeah.
Like you feel for her. And I think that when she's not crying, her face just has this kind of sort of like rawness to it that you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it could go either way. It really could." And it went the other way.
Yeah.
Far onto the other way.
You know what always makes me
Yeah.
laugh? Whenever they have to do a flashback, they always give women bangs. Do you notice
I
that?
know.
Like,
I have noticed that.
it's so
Yes.
weird, as
Yeah.
if in the past you'll grow out of this crap. So
Yeah.
like,
That's why, I have bangs, and I feel like
Your
every
flashback.
time
You gotta
people are like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Hey, not everyone who has bangs is going through some sort of crisis.
They're not all
okay?
trauma bangs. Sometimes they're
No.
just
Yeah.
a fashion bang.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And once you shed your husband with his whatever, you can get rid
murder.
of the bangs.
Yeah.
I was astounded that this is like, I think like her second role out of school. Like she just graduated from university.
Yeah.
Like this
For
is,
such a show that we're making fun of, there wasn't any weak links in it. You know what I mean?
It's perfectly
so
cast.
like everybody was so compelling. You liked everyone. They were given a character. You know,
Everyone had a role that made sense to kind of put together the narrative of Joe
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like Ellie, I thought, like I know you loved her, but
I
I thought
did.
she was super annoying, right? She was.
Oh, I liked her a
kind
lot.
She was kind of everywhere, but then I think when her life was in danger, when she started to hang out with the comedian, Hendy. Oh my
Yeah.
god,
Yeah.
even that name
I
is
know.
gross. when she started to hang out with him, you were like afraid for her because you knew what had happened to Delilah. And so I think it's interesting because I think when children are presented to the world, they're always usually, you know, like too smart or precarious for their own good, but then get into situations when they have no idea it could be so dangerous.
Yeah.
And so when she does, you're like, oh no, I really want her to be safe.
Well,
and Joe swoops in to try to save her.
Yeah.
Every time.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, he does that in the first season with
Paco,
Paco. Like, he's helping him.
Yeah.
And this season, he's got, I mean, and I mean, is every season of You gonna give him like a young child of color to save? Like, I don't know. Like it's
right, a new neighbor that he was peeking through the thing. The only thing I was disappointed with was her parents. They were really dull characters. It was very average and just kind of.
I feel like we understand how love ends up being love. Because
through her parents
a little bit. Like, not that I always blame the parents when your kid turns out to be a murderer.
Yeah.
But because I don't usually. But like in this particular situation, we see that she may come from like a long line of sort of like sociopathy, and
for sure,
like her, like
rich white people are all psychopaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello,
I agree.
Have you
that's
met
that's
sane rich white person?
I have not.
No.
Especially that level of rich. Like I've just
especially
it's never
that level of rich.
That's
that Val renewal. Anyway, but like I just so we understand like you know how she justified to herself her first murder, as it turns when it turns out that she was the one who had murdered the
girlfriend of her, or not the girl, the babysitter,
the rapist babysitter, or the rapist au pair.
Yeah.
I did not know that she had been the one to murder the rapist au pair. That threw me.
Yeah.
I knew that she was going to end up being a murdery person. Like I just had it in me that like this was happening.
Huh.
Yeah. I knew it was coming somehow. Like I knew that like. I've watched too many soap operas. Like I know how this stuff is going to play out. That he's
in the
gonna
book,
eventually...
she wasn't apparently that.
No, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that it deviates quite substantially from the book. But like,
or I mean, I don't know about the murder of the
au pair. Yeah,
but she doesn't do that ending of Candace and Delilah.
Okay, the murdering of Candace threw me off, but I knew that something was off with the au pair when she was talking about how 40 had this really abusive and horrible au pair, and then he went back to it with Penn Badgley when they were tripping on acid. And he was kept talking about it, and I was like, I feel like something isn't quite right with like 40's version of the story. Yeah. Especially because throughout the whole season, Love is always there, either coddling him or she's always trying to like save him out of like a party.
Yeah, it's a super codependent relationship.
Yeah.
So then he's also got a pretty big secret on her.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it would never come out, but
no, but 40 doesn't know.
That she was murdered?
No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that she killed him. That she killed the au pair. He thinks he killed the au pair.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because 40 was passed out, so he doesn't.
Right.
So if anything,
the blood was all
she
over
has
him,
like.
though.
Well, she has double victimized him by not like letting him think that he's killed the au pair all these years. And that's not actually true.
But he has a really lovely house, hey?
It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Really.
I always think with every kind of like a beautiful set that I always wonder if it's real or if it's built.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
And I mean, the side note, but if anyone's watched Parasite, the movie.
I haven't yet. Don't spoil anything. I'm coming to it.
I'm
this
not.
Week. Okay.
Don't worry. Oh my gosh, can we watch it together? Because I watched it like 4 times.
I've seen it already.
So good. So the house is
Yeah.
It's not.
I know. I was disappointed too.
But so it's interesting because this house, and I think even like set designers, it's quite interesting because when we watch shows, we're all engrossed in the story. We're not really always kind of figuring out these little.
Lisa's watching the set.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love it.
I love that.
Oh, I do too. But I also think with Parasite, it was probably a little too hard to find a house because it was the character. That house is as much a character as any of those people. Right?
Yes.
And I think so for him in envisioning each character, I think he had to envision a very specific
brilliant man
home.
I can't wait to watch Parasite. I'm going to watch it very soon because we're going to do an episode about it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, me.
Our permanent third. Our new third co-host, Joanne Tsung. So you did figure that Love had killed 40's au pair.
Well, I knew that she had something to do with the murder.
Okay.
That was maybe not. I didn't think that she murdered him, but I knew that something else was happening, especially when he was talking about it during the acid trip. And I only know this is because acid makes you do funny things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, it makes you emotional and it definitely makes you lose time. Mm-hmm. And so when he came to and had all these flashbacks of blood on his hands and then finds out that Delilah was killed, and I was like, it doesn't make sense. I know that we're supposed to think that he obviously went and killed Delilah, but I don't think when he was trying to kind of piece everything together, and then 40 wasn't giving him much information aside from the fact that he had gone off and met up with Candace again, but was and just to sleep with her, was to that I don't think he killed her, because if anything, like, Candace got there first and was trying to, you know, bring Love to the glass.
She thought that in a normal way. In a way that most people would want to call that a, you know, a deal breaker, that my boyfriend has kidnapped a woman and put her in a glass box.
But Love's got a body count all her own. Like,
there was some, what I really liked too, when you're talking about rich people too, is one thing I thought they did really well was how disposable everyone else is in their lives. Like that carelessness, like the way that couple, they were getting married in that bar, and he just like ruined their life.
He did.
That's it.
Completely.
It's over. You know, and the way they just go through people and move on, the way she talked to that guy, that Australian Hemsworth-looking guy, or whatever.
The cruelty.
It was just like the cruelty, the moving on.
Yeah.
Unless
that you were just somebody I was trying to rebound off of.
Just such a casual, like, dismissal. And I mean, maybe that is indicative of, like, how both of them...
It's like watching Succession. Have you seen that?
Yeah. No. Oh my God, Succession. You're going to love Succession.
Have you not watched Succession?
Okay, it's on my list. Okay,
dig
I just
in.
changed
Well,
jobs.
dig it.
You gotta like do some shifting on priorities.
I know, I will. But I think it
for
is
your
true.
catch-up.
Yeah, for your catch-up.
It is true, though. I think the way that... And I think a lot of these shows or movies speak to the socioeconomic hierarchy of how people are disposable, or how disposable people are, and ultimately that is the worst of its kind, that people are not people. Right? It's kind of like how, I mean, like slavery, all these things that people are not treated
They're just
as
commodities.
people.
Yeah.
They're commodities. And it's true, because with the way that labor is treated, you know, emotional labor, physical labor, that we're not worth the way that people think we are.
Yeah.
Or the way that some other people's labor or physical or emotional labor is treated, is that the way that she talked to, or the way that she told Will or Joe about having a private investigator put on Candace, was that she doesn't trust Candace, or she doesn't, you know, she's trying to protect her brother, and family, when she said always comes first, and she's trying to protect her family because they have money. And naturally, you know, you have to kind of be aware or kind of on your toes about money. And so kind of so her character with all her cool queer friends is kind of thrown out the window, because you know that those people are probably just as superficial or just as, I guess, shallow about a lot of these things as she is. And that a lot of these things are kind of like a front. Like, I want to be a good person, and I know the right things to say. Yeah. But I don't think I don't practice them.
No, but that's again the other layer that makes us go, is Joe really so bad? You know what I mean? No, right?
Yeah, no.
Like, these are the true demons here. Look how they're treating him. He gave him acid. He kidnapped him to finish writing Gwen's story, which was quite fun, or a backstory. Yeah. But I mean, they just go through people. They hate people. They not,
use
you know, they use people. Is Joe really so bad? See, this is the thing that they keep doing.
Well, and it turns out that, like, you know, those people are also murderers as well. So luckily they're playing on the same page.
Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, and that's one of the reasons that I love, like, I just think the actress who love, like, she did such a good job. The actress, Victoria Pendretti. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of most excited about for season 3, even though
I think they're going to make great parents. Am I alone thinking that?
Oh, murder baby.
I would not want to babysit for that family.
I just feel like they're really going to get it right this time. You know, like, he had problems with his parents, as in he murdered his father. And, you know, little things.
But, like, the idea that people were upset by the final scene wherein he is yet again about to start stalking the woman next door. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like, guys, like, I was like, just to the audience again, like, this show is going to continue to hit you over the head with the fact that Joe is bad.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
He's a bad man. This is,
But he has met
his.
his match, and I guess that's where we're going to be.
In
like,
season 3.
like to know that this woman not only likes that about him,
Yes.
is herself that obsessive over people.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
The fact that she stalked him,
Yes.
even though he
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
he really did meet his match, and I think
Yeah.
it's interesting to see, because when he's realizing when he's in the glass box and he's trying to strategize how he's going to get out was so interesting, because then he thought back to when Beck tried to trick him to be like, no, I'm in love with you, I'm so sorry, please let me out, you're a great person.
Yeah.
That he was trying to do the same thing with her, to be like, oh my gosh, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Just like me.
Yeah.
And I think, but then he, I mean, a lot of this is kind of like reactionary to his trauma.
Yeah.
Of like his parents like abusing him and being in,
And then that
you know,
man that took him in.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it says a lot about how I think he's going to act in season 3 with her, because I think for a moment he's like, oh my God, you're crazy. I'm not ever going to be with you again.
Yeah.
But then realizing after they both get out, and then the whole confrontation that happens at Navarin
Yeah.
with 40 and the
Getting
gun.
shot, yeah.
Right. Is that he's like, oh, no, I have to stay with you. Like,
Yeah.
we have a baby now, and the baby gives him hope, but then Love is still the way she is, and
She's gonna be
like, "We're
watching
be
though,
connected."
right? She's
Yeah.
gonna know this is coming. Like if he starts talking to the neighbor, she's gonna be like right in. Like she'll be murdering the neighbor probably.
Well,
first.
that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's gonna
Probably.
be like sort of like a sort of more low level talented Mr. Ripley, but like as if they are mirror images of each other. And
Yeah.
so I think that that's one of the only. Again, nothing is ever as simple as like, oh, you've got a bad male character. Well, then let's give a bad female character, and finally, equality is achieved.
Yeah.
But they've done such a smart job with crafting Love to truly be as disturbed and as entitled as and obsessive as
Yeah.
Joe. Like
Yeah.
there's something deeply pleasurable about that.
Yeah, I know, and it will be in season 3 for sure.
So does this episode, does you, as it stands, does it pop?
Oh yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it does.
Well, and I think for me the reason is because, and if I could read just like a really short,
Sure.
what Victoria Pedretti said is that when she's talking about the show and how people are talking about the horrors of the internet and how privacy is no longer private, and she says these kinds of things affect everyone, but obviously that's what the show is focused on. And I think it's been really a warning sign to some people. I know people have changed their passwords and remaneuvered their relationship with social media because of the show. And really thinking about how much we're putting our private lives into the hands of the public, it's really a smart way to discuss the trope that we've romanticized for so much.
Stalkers?
It's
Just you mean-
stalkers.
Yeah.
And the idea of this man that Penn Badgley plays, but we know these people, and they're really hard to pluck out because they see themselves, and we see them as nice guys.
Yes,
And it's and that's and like
yes.
I think that's brilliant, the
Yeah.
way. And I think it's honestly also so cool that celebrities now or actors now are able to have this kind of dialogue with
And talk
audience.
about matters of like justice and
right, and
safety
instead of just
and-
kind of being like, oh, I'm just the actor who plays, and I'm not
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson. So
I
Well,
have,
it is a
I have
much
no
bigger- yeah.
responsibility, no
Yeah.
It's a much,
accountability.
but a show like this is you should be part of some kind of conversation.
Yeah, but I think a
much
lot
more
of places
interesting.
don't prepare actors for that kind of stuff, or
Mm-hmm.
like don't ask them to think about it, and don't ask them to think about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I'm pleased that this show seems to sort of take seriously.
Yeah.
So does it pop for you, Joanne?
oh, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I'm definitely gonna watch season 3.
Oh,
yeah,
me too. 100%. Yeah.
Me too.
Um,
I'll be there.
and Lisa,
I'll see
you already said
there.
it popped, so
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. And also hate it. So great.
Yeah.
Everyone just go in with your
Yeah.
eyes wide open about
Yeah.
what that looks like. We love to also leave our episodes on something we recommend. So, as our guest, would you like to go first?
Oh, yes. Lately, I have been listening to a lot of Hayley Kiyoko. She is a singer, and she just released her album called I Am Too Sensitive for This. And it's very good. It's like kind of poppy, synthy, and the title of the album basically is also my life. Just a complex marshmallow with feelings.
Aw, I love that. Oh, I guess we're all right. My pick, Gary Steingart, Lake Success. Have you heard of it?
No.
It is this. He's an American-Russian writer, and it's a brilliant take on wealth and privilege in the Trump era. Let's just say that. And
very cool.
I get to interview Gary Steingart in the next few weeks, opening the Jewish Book Festival.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
So that's why I'm going through the book, but I'm very pleased to be able to do it.
Yeah,
so,
that's
going
to be great. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait. Mine's like much less, but this was a sort of an antidote to you. I thought it would be. John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch.
Oh, and it's good?
Have you guys watched this on Netflix?
Oh my gosh, it's on my list.
Okay,
it's actually
on my list.
It's like
I love John Mulaney.
There are some rough
I really
moments.
do.
Not gonna lie, there's some rough moments, and it's darker than you think it is.
Oh,
I love that.
But it's great, and the kids that they've hired are so amazing. I was so into it, like. I think by like the first half hour, and Carlos and I were watching it together, and I kept turning to him like making all these faces, and he could not figure out if I liked it or not. And I was just like, how has this been made? How is this? And it's really great, and it's really fun. A lot of fun cameos. I don't even know what Jake Gyllenhaal's doing in this, but you're never gonna forget it. David Byrne. It's great.
Jake Gyllenhaal usually shows up places.
Between the catching up and updating of the shows that are in series and very intense, is I watch a lot of stand-up comedy. You know,
this is a nice sort of compromise to like sort of the
His
middle
comeback
ground.
kid though, that
oh my gosh.
The
Amazing.
Horse in the Hospital, I will never forget my whole life.
Well, if you like children doing musical numbers and comedy and awkwardness,
Love it.
and
I don't know yet, but
death,
I will tell you.
it's great stuff. Thank you so much, Joanne, for
Thank
coming
you.
out. Do you have any shows coming up that you want us to tell us about, or anything that we need to know?
I haven't booked any shows, but I am trying to be on more stages this year. So
Okay.
I'll post it on
You
my
have your
Instagram.
documentary coming out.
And my documentary that's coming out. Well, I mean, it's not mine. I'm in it.
Okay.
I really shouldn't say that it's mine. I feel like that sounds way worse when I say it's mine. But I'm in it, and it's gonna, I think, premiere at some festivals in the summertime. But,
Cool.
I will probably post on my Instagram when my next shows are.
What's your Instagram?
At JTSUNG.
Look, there we go.
I can remember that.
I can remember that.
Yeah.
You can follow us on social media. No stalking, but you can rate and review us 5
Just
stars.
not murderers.
No murderers.
Yeah.
Rate and review us 5
We know you're out
stars
there.
on iTunes.
Yeah, and I so much talk about murder. I think that's the most I've ever said that name or word. Andrea Gin is our producer. Thanks so much for joining us each week. We're at the Vancouver Public Library, but we're not going to tell you when. So there you go.
So we can't get murdered because
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
listening.
Honestly,
Yeah.
truly. All right.
A few dreams.
Thank you, everyone.